April 8th, 1943, 27,000 feet over Caen, France. The oxygen mask couldn't hide Lieutenant Ralph Herman's smirk as he watched the clumsy shapes climbing slowly toward his group through the clear canopy of his Focke-Wulf 190 A-Fassiv. The veteran ace of Jagdgeschwader 26 studied the American fighters making their first fight over occupied Europe. "The Yanks have sent us flying milk bottles," he radioed to his wingman, laughing at the huge Republic P47 Thunderbolts struggling to gain height. Below them, 16 P47C Thunderbolts of the 4th Fighter Group climbed in tight formation, their 2,000 horsepower Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp engines working hard against their 7-ton weight. To German pilots used to sleek Spitfires and quick Soviet fighters, these fat American planes looked almost funny, barrel-shaped bodies with bubble canopies, wings that seemed too small for their big frames, propellers larger than anything in the Luftwaffe. What Hermann didn't know, what none of the German pilots circling like wolves above could imagine, was that they were seeing the start of the weapon that would destroy the Luftwaffe's fighter force. In 18 months, these flying milk bottles would change from jokes to terrors, their 850 caliber Browning machine guns becoming the scariest sound in German skies. The math of destruction was already in those wide wings. 3,400 rounds of ammo, a combined fire rate of 6,000 rounds per minute, enough power to cut a Messerschmitt in half in under 2 seconds. The change began that April morning when Major Donald Blakeslee, leading the 335th Fighter Squadron, spotted the German group getting ready to attack. The former Eagle Squadron veteran, who had switched from RAF Spitfires weeks before, knew what his men didn't yet. Surviving in the P-47 meant forgetting old air combat rules. The Thunderbolt was a big shift from normal fighter design. While Germans built light interceptors for quick climbs and turns, Republic Aviation made a high-altitude beast that used weight, power, and guns to change air war rules. Among the 56 American pilots in the French sky that day were men who would become legends, future aces, whose names scared Luftwaffe hearts. But on April 8th, 1943, they were newbies in an untested plane, facing the world's most experienced fighters. The Germans had fought since 1939, with veterans from Poland, France, Britain, and Russia. The Americans had 0 days in combat. This story shows how factory thinking beat smart tactics, how numbers and quality became total control, and how German pilots' laughs turned to fear when they learned what 8 synced Browning guns could do to a plane at 400 yards. The Republic P-47 Thunderbolt came from a June 1940 panic as German fighters swept France. Alexander Kartveli, Republic Aviation's Georgian-born chief designer, got urgent specs from the U.S. Army Air Corps. They wanted a high-altitude interceptor to match the Luftwaffe's best. Kartveli designed a monster that changed what was possible. "It will be a dinosaur," he told his team, but a dinosaur with good shape. The XP-47B prototype first flew on May 6, 1941, shocking everyone. At 9,900 pounds empty, it weighed 65% more than its old P-43 Lancer. The huge turbo supercharger with complex pipes in the rear body gave it a bulging look. Test pilots seeing it always asked, "Does this thing really fly?" Not only did it fly, it flew amazingly at height. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp an 18-cylinder radial with 2,000 horsepower, kept full power at 27,000 feet, where German fighters struggled. The turbo supercharger, fed by exhaust, gave sea-level power in thin air, where normal superchargers failed. Major Hubert Hub Zemke, leading the 56th Fighter Group, training in Bridgeport, Connecticut, first hated the plane. His unit lost 18 pilots and 41 planes in accidents from September 1942 to January 1943. The P-47 killed more Americans in training than Germans did in early combat. It spun on landing, twisted on takeoff, and dived so fast pilots hit compressibility, with controls freezing from wing shock waves. But masters found it amazing. Lieutenant Robert Johnson, an Oklahoma farm boy who became a top ace with 27 kills, said of his first flight, "It was like tying to a train. The power was unreal. You didn't fly it. You aimed it." Early fights in April and May 1943 proved German doubts. P-47s couldn't turn like Focke-Wulf 190s, climb like Messerschmitt 109s, or handle nimbly at mid-heights. Luftwaffe pilots made tactics to use these weaknesses, attacking from below where heavy Thunderbolts struggled, forcing turns where speed mattered less than agility. Oberst Josef Pips Priller, head of Jagdgeschwader 26, reported after his first meet, "The new American fighter is easy prey. It flies like a truck, turns like a train, climbs like a fat cow. Our boys call them Indians. Big targets acting tough." Stats seemed to back German confidence. In the first month, U.S. groups lost 14 Thunderbolts for just 3 sure German kills. The RAF, watching from Spitfire squads, hinted Americans rethink their plane. British pilots joked the best dodge in a P-47 was to unbuckle and run around the big cockpit. But odd things happened in early fights that German spies missed. Shot-down P-47s took huge damage before falling. One returned from May 4th with 21 cannon holes and over 100 gun hits, damage that would wreck a Messerschmitt or Spitfire. The big radial engine, without weak coolant, ignored hits that stopped liquid-cooled fighters. More key, when P-47s hit targets, results were deadly. The Thunderbolt's guns made a kill zone Germans never saw. Unlike early warlight guns or cannons with low ammo, the American could fire over 30 seconds, a lifetime in air fights. The event starting to change German views was June 26, 1943, over Lizard, France. It involved 2nd Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson of the 61st Fighter Squadron in a famous meet on both sides. Johnson's group of 48 P-47s returned from Escort when hit by 16 Focke-Wulf 190s from the Seersup or JG-26, led by Hauptmann Wilhelm Ferdinand Galland, brother of famous Adolf Galland. Germans did a perfect dive from the sun with speed edge. Johnson's Thunderbolt at the back took huge damage fast. 21 20mm cannon shells hit, canopy shattered, fluid sprayed, engine cover ripped. Fire started behind gauges. Johnson, hurt in nose and leg by bits, tried to jump but canopy jammed from a shell, trapped in a dying plane at 27,000 feet. What came next broke all damage rules. With no front view through oil-covered glass, shaking engine, and spotty controls, Johnson leveled and headed to England. The P-47 kept flying with wounds that would drop other fighters. Then worse, a lone Focke-Wulf 190 from the Sudeterie JG-26 found the slow Thunderbolt at under 170 Matorimi. History never named this pilot, though reports suggest some. What followed was epic air war history. The German got behind and fired all 4 20mm cannons and 2 13mm guns. Johnson couldn't dodge, just hid behind armor and hoped. The Thunderbolt took all cannon ammo. German moved and fired guns again. Out of cannon, he pulled beside, staring shocked at the wreck. Johnson saw his young, blonde face shift from sure to confused to scared. German fired rest of guns into it, still flew, pulled beside again, shook head amazed, saluted, and left. Likely out of ammo, Johnson's P47 landed at Manston, engine quitting on rollout. Crew chief stopped counting holes after 200. One shell exploded near Johnson's head. Another hit seat armor. Engine took direct hits. Cables part cut. 3 of 4 main fuselage beams shot through, yet it brought him home. Johnson's survival shocked both air forces. U.S. engineers saw they underrated their plane. German intel from the Sekar JG-26 first doubted, no plane takes that. But pilots confirmed the impossible. The Thunderbolt took a top fighter's full load and lived. By July 1943, U.S. pilots learned P-47 strengths. Colonel Hubert Zemke of 56th Fighter Group found the key through hard tests. Don't turn with them, don't climb low, use weight, use power, use guns. The big weight, once a flaw, became a tool. In dives, nothing caught it. From 30,000 feet, P-47 hit 550 mph, faster than German dives. This speed turned to zoom climbs, leaving chasers behind. Captain Walker Bud Mahurin, an early U.S. ace in Europe, made boom and zoom tactics called Thunderbolt Turkey Shoot by pilots. Instead of dogfights, P-47s climbed to 30,000 feet, above German effective range. When foes below, they rolled inverted and dived, speeds making German shots hard. At bottom, U.S. heavy guns fired. Survivors called it a lead wall. Caught planes didn't fall, they broke apart. The real show of U.S. firepower was August 17th, 1943, raids on Schweinfurt and Regensburg, deepest into Germany yet. This showed P-47 limits, range with tanks, and power when right. Major Dave Schilling, leading 62nd Fighter Squadron, hit Messerschmitt 110 destroyers, ready to attack B-17s with cannons and rockets. The twin-engine Germans, heavy-armed but slow, were bomber killers. Schilling's 4 Thunderbolts dived from 28,000 feet. Unteroffizier Heinrich Roth, a surviving Me-110 gunner, said in POW talk, "Americans dropped like hammers from sky. I fired at 800 meters. Good hits on wing. P-47 didn't shake. Then he fired. Plane ahead just broke. Wings off, tail gone, crew area shredded. In 2 seconds, a 110 vanished. 8 Me-110s and 109s down in under a minute." Germans never saw such fire. Each P-47 had 425 rounds per gun, 3,400 total, nearly 900 pounds. At 300 yards convergence, all 8 guns hit a 6-foot zone. Anything there faced 150-inch bullets per second at 2,900 feet per second. Ammo was U.S. factory wonder, while Germans had low cannon rounds, 120-200 for 20 mm. U.S. pilots fired over half a minute. Mix was armor-piercing incendiary, tracers, and ball for destroy and burn. Lieutenant Colonel Francis Gabreski, top U.S. ace in Europe, with 28 kills, said, "Hit with all 8. They don't go down. They explode. Saw a 109 cut in half, tail one way, nose another. Pilot never knew." By September 1943, Luftwaffe saw horror. P-47 better at height, while Germans weakened. Turbo double Wasp kept power to 30,000 feet. German single Dux two-stage superchargers dropped above 25,000. Oberleutnant Hans Philipp, 206 kill ace, died October 8, 1943, learning this, leading JG-1 against B-17s at 28,000 feet over Bremen. His Focke-Wulf 190A6 was slow in thin air, BMW 801 strong mid-level, but weak high. When 56th Group P-47s dived from 32,000, Germans were easy targets. Robert Johnson, now ace-bound, at 31,000 spotted Philipp's marked plane. Report, fired 300 yards, 30-degree angle, hits along body, enemy exploded, no shoot. Philipp's death shook Luftwaffe. If a 500 mission vet from east-west fronts couldn't live versus Thunderbolts, what for normals? German command probed P-47 abilities. November 1943, report to Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring was grim. Service ceiling, over 42,000 feet, above German reach. Dive near sound barrier. Armor, 3 to 8-inch steel behind pilot, 1 or 2-inch bulletproof glass. Engine plates. Tough build took damage for 3 normal fighters and returned. In January 1944, P-47 D-22 arrived in England, finishing change from joke to nightmare. It had Hamilton standard hydromatic propeller with 13-foot paddle blades that grabbed air hard. Climb boost was quick. Old 2,200 feet min at sea to 3,000, matching exceeding Germans most places. Big prop also sped up level flight. Hauptmann Heinz Knoke of JG-11, 200-plus missions vet, met new ones. February 1944, near Hanover. Diary. Fat Americans now climb. Bounced a group. Expected edge. They turned and climbed with us. Tried to leave. They followed to 30,000. Schmidt caught. Blown up. Smoke and bits. Not same planes we mocked last year. Paddle prop changed sound too. Blade tips hit supersonic, making thunder roar heard miles off. German ground troops knew P-47s by sound. Deep rumble, meaning death above, called Donnerschlag, thunderclap. By March 1944, P-47s with drop tanks escorted deep into Germany. Usual, 2 108-gallon wing or 75-gallon belly tank. Range over 1,000 miles. Paddle prop kept performance loaded, fighting right after drop. Luftwaffe focused bombers to stop U.S. day raids, but meant through P-47 screens. Suicide. Germans gained respect, nearing fear for big fighters. Major Gunther Rahl, 275 kill ace, mostly east. Survived. March 6, 1944, meet wounded. Post-war. Saw them high. Fat shapes vers sun. Someone laughed. Flying pigs. No laughs. 30 seconds later, down like avalanche. Too fast. First pass killed 3. Burned debris. Guns poured solid fire streams. Caught in that meant death. Escorts showed endurance edge. Germans max power. Burned fuel fast. U.S. radials cruised efficient high. P-47s stayed hours with bombers, rotating cover with fuel for fight and home. As P-51 Mustangs took long escorts, spring 1944, P-47s shifted to ground attack, becoming most feared in German eyes. Started April 1944 for France invasion prep. Heavy guns, great versus ground. Armor-piercing incendiary, pierced vehicle tops. Volume-wrecked soft targets. 2-second burst put a 160 50-inch into truck size. Bombs Jotter rockets made P-47 multi-role beast. D-25 carried 2 1,000-pound wing bombs, 500-pound belly, like early medium bombers. Later added 10 5-inch HVAR rockets, each like 105mm Priller shell. Oberst Hans von Luck, 12th Panzer Grenadier Regiment in Normandy, saw attacks, came low, saw pilots' faces, sound terrifying, engines roar, rockets scream, then gunhammer, truck column gone, 20 vehicles burned in one pass, men devastated, called Jabos, fighter bombers, but these beyond, flying artillery with sniper aim. June 6, 1944, Luftwaffe saw power shift. Over 500 P-47s covered invasion, unbreakable beach umbrella, Germans trying beaches massacred. Oberleutnant Wolfgang Fischer of JG-2, one of 3 reaching beaches. Sky American, Thunderbolt stacked sea to 30,000. Tried dawnbreak. 12 from group, only I back. P-47s every height, can't climb over, dive under, guns turned fighters to aluminum rain. Post-D-Day weeks, P-47s wrecked German day moves. June stats. 9th Air Force Thunderbolts claimed 651 locomotives, 3,847 trucks, 512 tanks, armored 4,553 horse vehicles. Wehrmacht moved nights only, hurting response. Germans tried counters, more vehicle armor, flak guns, new camo, failed. P-47 speed, armor, fire unstoppable. Even 88mm flak, hard to track low-fast fighters. While crushing Europe, P-47 proved in Pacific. 348th Fighter Group from New Guinea found qualities fit vast distances, harsh spots. Colonel Neil Kirby led 4 P-47s versus 40 Japanese over Wewak. October 11th, 1943, downing 6 himself for Medal of Honor. Japanese, used to quick, fragile U.S. fighters, unprepared for P-47 fire, durability. Asa Saburo Sakai met over New Guinea, called monsters. Our 20mm cannon wrecked P-40s with few hits. No effect here. Dozens into one Thunderbolt. It flew off. Return fire terrifying. Heavy bullet streams tore planes. P-47N for Pacific had wet wings, 93 gallons each. Range to 350 miles. Escorted B-29s to Japan. Turning short leg 1943. Fighter to long range ultimate proof. Versus German jets. Me-262 540 MPH should be safe from props. But P-47s caught at takeoff, landing, or high dives. November 27, 1944. Lieutenant Colonel John C. Meyer of 352nd downed Me-262 with P-47. Dive from 28,000 to 500 Nahler MPOH caught jet level. Meyer. Enemy disintegrated, pieces including engines off. No pilot escape. 150 guns better than thought versus jets. Early 1945, P-47M for jets V1s, water methanol boost to 2,800 horsepower, refined shape, 470 MAPR level at 30,000. Major George Bostwick of 63rd downed 2 Me-262s, March 1945. Report, jets faster but can't turn, take hits. One burst, paper apart, slow for bombers. That's when we get. Final U.S. factory show. Operation Bodenplatte. Luftwaffe desperate. January 1st, 1945, hit on Allied fields. Nearly 900 German fighters, best pilots left, surprised Belgium Netherlands bases. At Y-34 near Metz, 365th P-47 home, attack wrecked 22 Thunderbolts ground, plus others. Captured German, taunted at Burns. What think? Major George Dorsch. By tomorrow, 40 new. How long replaced pilots? German face fell. In 48 hours, fresh P-47 D-40s filled, flown from England depots. Luftwaffe lost 271 planes, 213 pilots, including key leaders, irreplaceable. U.S. lost 134 total, replaced in week. Numbers showed defeat. Republic built 15,683 P-47s, most U.S. fighter. Farmingdale Factory, 1 hour, 24/7 peak. Evansville plant from farmland, 1942, hit 500, month, 1944. Each P-47D, 65,000 parts, 8 miles wire, 2,000 pounds aluminum, 300 pounds rubber, engine 2, 400, precise parts. Women workers, new to planes post-Pearl, built to war standards better than peace. Ammo, huge. Each sortie, 3,400, 150 rounds. Hundreds daily. Over 10 million month. Mid-1944. Lake City Arsenal, 30 million month. Tolerances 1 snot 10,000 inch. For reliable feed. Fuel big. 100 gallons hour cruise, 300 combat. 9th Air Force, 25 plus million gallons. Month. Late 1944. Shipped Atlantic by mass tankers. Pilot training. U.S. 30,000 year. 1944. More than Germany whole war. Each P-47 pilot. 400 plus hours pre-combat. 100 in fighters. Germans under 100 total. Late war. Quality showed. U.S. pilots trained formation, instruments, guns, tactics, practiced versus captured Germans, new foes, studied manuals Germans lacked. Lieutenant Eugene Roberts, England. September 1944, 420 log hours, 75 P-47, fire targets, deflection, gun film. First mission, knew what, German foe, half experience. Unfair. March 1945, Joseph Priller, who mocked as pregnant cows, 1943, in propaganda interview, 2 down for print, Thunderbolt best fighter bomber ever, firepower unmatched, guns no jam, overheat, ammo short, bombs like medium, rockets like artillery, fights when needed, but means unlimited U.S. production. Lose 10, build 20, we lose 1. Gone. Pilots better than our teachers. Fuel, ammo, parts endless. We have courage only. Courage sans ressources. Slow loss. Laughed 1943. Not now. Guns sound haunts. Mechanical. Exact. Unstoppable. Like U.S. Material crush. Didn't beat tactics. Bravery. Buried in steel, Jutter lead. By April 1945, Luftwaffe mostly gone. Fuel short grounded planes. Vets dead captured. Fields ruined. Even with planes, sheesh fuel. Impossible. P-47s owned all heights ground to 40,000. Feldwebel, Klaus Bretschneider, last trained 1945. 1 mission pre-end. Versus P-47s over Leipzig. 12 seconds. Saw 4 dive perfect. Tried turn too fast. Leader fired 500 meters. Plane shook like hammers. Engine blew. Wing off. Barely out. From shoot. Watched group wrecked. 6 gone under minute. Sky rained burn aluminum. Bodies. mind impact full, Jabo fever, stress symptoms at Thunderbolt reports, vets calm versus Spitfires, hurricanes, sick pre-P47 missions, roar caused ground panic, seek cover fast. Final P47 stats huge, Europe, 3,152 air kills, 3,315 ground planes, 86,000 rail cars, 9,000 locos, 6,000 armored, 68,000 trucks, 60,000 horse vehicles. Pacific, 697 air kills, 150 ground planes, 1,500 vehicles, 150 locos, countless boats, ships, installs. 9th Air Force, 213,073 sorties, 120,000 tons bombs, 135 million rounds, 60,000 rockets, units 4.6.1, kill ratio, lowest loss for Allied fighter bomber, human cost, Luftwaffe, 28,000 pilots, killed versus West Allies, many to US heavy guns, late German AVG, 30 combat hours, P47 pilot 200, at Oberursel interrogation, captured US pilots quizzed, 1945 files on P47 showed opinion flip, April 1943, big, slow fighter, worse than German in all but dive, guns weak versus cannon, low threat, December 1943, great, high performance, strong build, firepower issue, better tactics, big threat over 25,000, June 1944, top fighter bomber, beats Germans over 20,000, firepower wrecks all, hard to down, critical threat all heights, March 1945, war's best, firepower, durability, performance unmatched, top pilots, unsurvivable direct fight, 1985 reunion Phoenix, ex-foes meet, General Lieutenant Adolf Galland, ex-Luftwaffe fighter head, on P47, big mistake, 1943, saw heavy fighter, laughed, Yanks don't get air war, built bomber, called fighter, we didn't get it, US built American, production, firepower, survival, new attrition war, needs tough, deadly plane, right, flew captured post-war, got all, power wild, climbed like upward fall, cockpit comfy, view great, controls exact, pilot plane in armor, but impressed. US built 15,000 plus complex, while 2 ocean war, engine harder than German anything, built faster than our simple, knew no chance, guns, Roosevelt's piano for sound, heard once, never forget, many friends last time, P47 didn't beat Luftwaffe, destroyed it, P47 design, pure US factory, brute engineering, endless resources, parts overbuilt, overpowered, wing spars, 40,000 pounds, 3x loaded weight, engine mount 12G, doubled cables, auto backups, ammo feed marvel, 8 boxes, 425 rounds each, electric motors, anti-jam, high G, guns heated anti-freeze, individual charge, yacht sink, convergence set 150 to 400 yards for pilot choice. Post-war, some Germans said P47 won by numbers, not quality, tech superior but swamped. Records differ. Equal numbers, P47 won, heavy guns, mocked versus cannon, better combat, gun film, cannon destructive, but need aim, low ammo, 120, 200. P47, bullets made hit, cloud, sure even off aim, 2-second burst 20 plus into fighter, kill sure, ammo better, Chut 50, AP incendiary, delayed fuse, penetrate, then boom, burn 3,000 to GF, light aluminum. German 20mm, often surface blast. Showy, but shallow. P47, heaviest single-engine piston fighter. Mass-made, 10,000-pound empty over some twin gross. Engine power beat WWI bomber groups. Guns more than infantry squad. Built thousands. Flown by young kids. Kept by quick-learn mechanics. German view flip. From mock to terror in 2 years. Milk bottle became Luftwaffe's worst fear. Vets calm versus Spitfires, Hurricanes, Yaks, whispered of P-47's decades on. At USAF Museum, Dayton restored P-47D with specs, honors, case, spent .50 shells, gun film of Focke-Wulf, 190 shredding. Quote from unnamed German, 1945, laughed first sight, fat, ugly Yanks, can't turn, climb, fight. Stopped, when saw no need, just point guns, you gone. Laughter died with comrades. P-47 started combat as joke, ended as destroyer. Between 8 synced Brownings, rewrote air war, buried Luftwaffe in lead. Germans laughed April 1943. By May 1945, no Germans left to laugh. Thunder spoke, Sky American.